You didn't let that play for very long. Jeez, that's like you're gonna let it go for a little bit longer.
I'm sorry.
That's all right. Well, hello everybody. I know. You're like, who are these two strangers? I know. I know. We know. Anyway, we're gonna tell you why. Because we took a couple of weeks off there. Because we
A
had
lot going on.
we had a lot going on. So Alamo here had to go to I believe it was like a work related function on a Friday night. It was a trade show or something.
And I had to marry some people. I had to play officiant. So
Oh, you didn't tell me that. Oh, dope.
yeah. I was an officiant at a wedding.
Which one was that?
The Tista-in-law.
Mm.
So give Alamo a call, y'all. I can marry y'all if you want. Fully licensed in Florida.
Which would be great because they can do voices and characters, and it would be awesome.
Yeah, this past one I was the bishop from The Princess Bride.
That one! Oh man, yes!
Marriage. Marriage is why we are gathered here today. Marriage, that blessed arrangement. You
That's dope. That's
let's
so
just
dope.
let's just say some people couldn't hold it in. They were breaking the moment I started talking. So it was awesome.
That's great.
I
That's what you do best. I mean, you make people laugh. So
try.
that's good stuff. And then the second week, it was our kids' spring break from school. So we kind of just took that week to kind of chill and ended up having some fun. Did some cool stuff. So yeah, but as nice as it was to be off, it is equally great to be back. We didn't really say a whole lot the last couple of weeks. We're sorry about that. Just had a lot of moving pieces. And yeah, so hopefully you missed us. If you didn't, well, shame.
We're back anyway.
We're back anyway. If you're new to the program, this is the Battle Bros podcast. My name is Mac. This handsome stud, SOB, son of Boricua, is Alma. We are two guys that have been friends for a while. You're gonna say it.
24 years.
He said it. Yeah, 20 plus years. We have remained friends since then. Both went off to join the army after post 9/11. Whereas he was on active duty and went to Iraq. I was in the Guard here in Florida and ended up going to Afghanistan. So we kind of like cover all the bases for all that kind of stuff. But this podcast is basically us talking about veteran and service member related issues. Sometimes it's a little bit of a hard to talk about conversation, but we're trying to break that stigma and discuss it so that way it's not a stigma for you when you go and talk about it. So that's what we're all about. If you want, you can always go back and check out our YouTube page. We have a YouTube page, Battle Bros Podcast. You can go and watch all of our previous episodes out there, of which we have a couple here and there. So, but yeah, so we're gonna get into the nitty gritty about this afterwards. How we got this thing started, all that good stuff. In the meantime, if you go to our YouTube page, you can link to all of our other social media accounts. You can go make sure you like, subscribe, share, hit that notification bell, all that good stuff, and that will get you the information as to when we go live, like we are right now. Anyway, so the last time that we were on here 2 weeks ago, feels like a freaking month, to be honest with you, because this has been a crazy month. The last show that we did was episode 104, and we were talking about obligation. That was the show that we did 3 weeks ago. So yeah, it was on the 7th. So yeah, 3 weeks ago. Talk about obligations. So we're going to talk about a new episode, new topic this week. And if you haven't been on the show before, we try to keep it fresh and interesting. talk about different topics all the time. Sometimes there's several part episodes. There's been several times where we've had like a part 1, part 2. One of the other things we do is we do our VIP, our veteran interview panel, where we bring vets on, have them tell their story, and pretty much just say, hey, this is your story. You tell it how you want. Be as truthful as you want. Go into as much detail as you want. Just don't hold back. Tell us the unabashed, unfiltered, raw knowledge and the raw story, and we're going to go from there. So,
Huey.
if you haven't been on the show before, please sit back and take a load off. Or if you're in your car, or no, you're already sitting down, so listen up. It's all good stuff. So
that's right.
This week, before we get into our topic for this week, we are going to cover some news situations here. So
news situations.
We try not to get too political, but sometimes it can't be helped. So there's no political stuff in the news tonight that we're going to cover. So as you were. The first thing that we're going to talk about. So as teased by Sergeant Major of the Army Michael Weimer. If you want to go ahead and bring up that image, please, Alamo, for those that are watching the feed live. The master badges, please.
The master, got it.
So one of the big things that's happened for a long time is there are several badges. One of them being newer. You have the that's not it. No, that's our logo there, guy.
Hold on.
Yep, holding.
There it is.
There we go. Oh my god.
It's the new setup for StreamYard. It's a little different than the last time.
I gotcha. Can you possibly zoom in on that middle part right there?
Zoom. I shall zoom.
Danke. So what the Sergeant Major of the Army teased is that they were going to come out with some new Master Combat badges. So basically, you have 2 different types of badges in 3 different configurations. You have the Master and you have the Expert. So on the right there, you have the Field Medical badge. In the middle, you have the Soldier's badge, and then on the left column, you have the Infantry badge. Now, previously to this, you could only either wear one or the other, being the Combat Infantry badge, for example, or the Expert Infantry badge. Now, the Expert badge is something that you earn when you take a course. You go through and you get tested by graders to make sure you're living up to the standard, so on and so forth. Now, previously, again, as I mentioned, you could only do one or the other. So Sergeant Major of the Army said, hey, we got a fix for this. We're going to have what's called the Master Combat badge. So the one thing that they have changed on this is that now, if you have the Master Combat Infantry badge, a Master Master Soldier's badge, or Combat Action badge, excuse me, and then the Master Combat Medical badge, the wreath on all of these is now a gold color, as you can see looking at the subdued and then also the embroidered subdued variations of those badges. So what that signifies that you have actually earned both the combat variation and the expert variation of those specific badges. So now you don't have to fight over, am I going to wear my expert badge or my combat badge? I don't know. Now you got both. So these are going to be coming out sometime soon. This is the first picture that I found thanks to Reddit. That's even a better picture. So if you have just the combat badges, it'll be the same as the ones on the top, just that the wreath will be silver in color as they originally were. The gold wreath is going to signify that this is the master version, meaning you have earned the combat and the expert versions of that specific badge.
Huey Dewey.
Which is cool. Now, also in news, there's also going to be coming out with the Army announced the creation of 2 new badges as well. Can you, while I'm talking that up a little bit, can you see if you can find a picture of the Ram's Head badge from the Vermont Guard?
Huey.
See if you can possibly pull that up side by side with the new one. So the Army also announced the creation of 2 new badges. One of them is the Mariner badge, which is going to be has several kind of thematic parts to it as well. The first one's going to be, there it is. You have the anchor in the back. The next piece is going to be the helm, which is going to be like the wheel that you would steer an old sailing vessel with. And then inside of that, you have the winged wheel, which usually kind of means like transportation stuff. A lot of times police use it for like their motor squad or whatnot. But so those are going to be involved for guys that actually are running army boats and stuff. But not saying that's not important, but the main reason I brought this up is that there is also going to be a new Mountaineer badge. Now, there's a little bit of history of this, so just hang on just a minute. I got to explain all this. So, previous to this, there was a badge called the Ram's Head, which is also called, for those that may have earned it, or for those that are familiar with it, there's also some people refer to it as the Princess Leia badge because it's got the head on it and the ram. So if you're looking at this one here, it kind of looks like it's looking off at, like, if you're looking at the front of it, it's looking off to your left. Okay, so you see kind of like a semi-side profile of the ram's head itself. The old one, the ram's head, actually was kind of more vertical, more straight on as you're looking at the front of it, and then you had the horns coming off it from here. This badge was earned at the completion of Mountain Warfare School, which was run by the Vermont National Guard, and it is only authorized by the Vermont Guard. There are some instances where it has been awarded for permanent wear. Like I saw a picture of a drill sergeant who was on active duty, who was wearing, he had like his CIB, he had his airborne wings, and then he had his ram's head, which was authorized to be worn all the time. It was a permanent award as opposed to just being only while in the National Guard in the state of Vermont. So that was do you hear that? Or is that just feedback on my end?
Hear what?
I thought I heard something. I'm sorry. I thought I heard like it might be just these boneheads out here on the main road, like freaking just bumping their music around. I don't know. It could also be my microphone. Who knows? Anyway,
it also could be haunting.
Who knows? There's been weird stuff going on in my house all week. I'll tell you about that later offline. But anyway, so this badge is now, it's kind of sort of the same thing. It has the ram with the horns of it kind of in like a gold color, and then from the upper left to the lower right, you have a sword, and then from the upper right to the lower left, you have like a pickaxe that's very commonly used for mounting. Did you find a picture of the actual ram's head badge?
No, actually, I was honestly still looking for it. Hold on. I shall use my Brave browser. Give me a second. I shall find it. And it was what is it called? It's the Vermont Guard.
Just put Ram's Head badge or Princess Leia badge. Live show here, folks. Is how we roll.
Yeah.
So, anyways,
I think I found it.
By having this will actually be authorized army-wide, so we no longer have to have just the guys in Vermont and stuff. I actually know a couple of guys who went to the school and have earned the badge. It's kind of it's very very unique when you see it, like the old one, how it looks and stuff. It's
it figures the moment I look up for it on my Brave, I actually find the damn thing. Hold on one second.
Yeah, it's all good. So kind of interesting. They're making some new stuff. They've had a couple. Yeah, that's it. So when you see it, click this one right up here where it says Army Combat Uniform. The second one on top on the second. Yeah, that one.
Oh, yeah.
And if you can scroll in on that too, please, I'd appreciate it. Maybe zoom in on it if we can.
Okay.
That's actually the article I was looking at. Yeah, so that is the Ram's Head, the old Ram's Head device. So this one is going to be slightly different because it's kind of off to the side. You have the sword and you have the pickaxe underneath it and whatnot. So, and it's going to be army-wide as opposed to just Vermont Guard. So kind of cool. Anyway, so that was kind of interesting. I'm a big uniform geek, so that kind of struck me as like, hey, that's kind of cool. So
yeah.
So there's other things in the news, but yeah, that's what we're gonna cover. So all right, now to the fun shit. So as I mentioned earlier, last show we did, it was episode 104, which is crazy to think we're over the century mark. That's like fantastic. This episode is 105, and we are going to be talking about the subject of
trust.
Now, you think that's kind of something simple. You're right. It really is something simple. However, that's what it is. I keep hearing your mic moving, and it's the feedback, like you're swinging the arm or something. Like it's pretty sensitive to that stuff, dude. That's what I keep hearing.
It's a brand new mic, guys.
No.
Sorry.
Yeah.
I that was the first time. Genuinely, I moved it. I'm gonna do something real quick. See it. Tell me if you hear it. It's extremely sensitive.
Did you bump the table?
And this is I might have, but honestly, I put the freaking feedback filter on it so that it doesn't have the background noise coming in, and it's still picking it up. That's how good this mic is.
Word bird, baby. So good stuff. Anyway, so as I was saying, trust. Yes, it's an easy topic, but it's something that, folks in the military kind of get hung up on from time to time.
Yeah.
Me, other folks. So we're going to kind of break that down. I mean, it's kind of it's a big deal. I mean, you got to understand that's drilled into you from day one. I mean, Alamo, what was your battle buddy's last name in basic training?
Albert.
Okay. Mine was McCombs. So you had to go everywhere you went with your battle buddy. You had to learn to trust them, and you got to learn a lot of things about each other. I kind of wish I should have learned more, because he was going active duty, I was going guard.
Yeah.
But
my battle buddy actually went to the same duty station.
Oh, he went to Lewis?
Yeah.
No shit.
A lot of us did.
We had a lot of guard guys in my unit, in my company when we went through basic. So it was cool, like to stay with those guys, man. It was awesome. So some of those guys are still in. One of them is an officer now. My buddy that I went to basic with, he is now a captain in the medical services branch. So it's
no kidding. Yeah. Did he? What did he do? Go as OCS, I guess.
I would imagine so, because he got a degree. He was going to college and stuff. He ended up extending. He stayed in Afghanistan for a whole second year. He just stayed there. Yeah. Young guy, not married, no kids. So he's like, why not?
So to him, it didn't matter. It was just like, I'll collect a paycheck.
Oh, yeah, pretty much. Exactly. So, good dude. Solid dude, man. But yeah, I mean, you got to understand, like, from the very first experience in boot camp, you are pretty much like pseudo married to somebody. Anytime you go somewhere, it's like where you go, they go, where they go, you go, kind of thing. So
pretty much
you kind of you get trust drilled into you pretty early on. It's not one of the 7 Army values, but it would probably be pretty close coming up right after that. So,
as a drill sergeant would say, it would behoove.
Yeah, it would behoove you
to put that on the list
of, important shit to remember. So, let's talk about trust, shall we? So, what is the definition of trust? So, the definition of trust, which I'm glad you asked, by the way, firm belief in the reliability, truth, ability, or strength of someone or something. And I will repeat that. Trust is defined as the firm belief in the reliability, truth, ability, or strength of someone or something. It's kind of like, and the example that I kind of drew from this, and the reason that I kind of want to talk about it, 4 years ago, when Afghanistan closed out and everybody left in 2021, okay, that was you're already getting pissed, dude. Like just
because it reminds me of 2014 on the pullout of Iraq. So,
well, and before that, it reminds us of 1975 when they pulled out of Saigon and everything just went to shit,
yeah.
So that's another way that we kind of have these, something else we have in common with the Vietnam vet generation compared to our generation being GWAT. So,
Yeah.
um, yeah, it's not something you want to have in common. It's like, so, and I'll kind of give you some feedback on that. So they were getting told that, hey, there's going to be a pullout. You know, they were at first told by higher ups, big army, that we're going to just leave the shit here. You will not get a statement of charges for it. It will not be put on your personnel record as money owed for equipment not combat lost. And everybody's like, all right, as long as you say so. And then like they turn around between 4 to 6 months later and like start charging. They're like, hold the fuck up here, buddy. Whoa, whoa, whoa. And admin halt. Stand by. What the fuck over? So
yeah.
I mean, and for us to just leave like that in the middle of the night too, it's just like, and all the shit that they weren't even getting. They weren't. It was just such a. Ugh, now I'm getting fucked up. It was just such a crap. It was just such a shit show. Like the way it was chaotic. You had 13 people die at Abbey Gate from a suicide bomber. There's intel that could have been prevented, but they were like, no, we're just trying to pack up our shit and duck town.
Yep.
A lot of bad juju with that. So
lots.
And especially when you talk about the fact that, like, when that's drilled into your head, you have the utmost, most times, I would say 95% of the time, I would say it's a fair assessment that you have trust in those that lead you. Like your leaders, as a subordinate, you're going to have, that trust in your superiors.
Yeah.
95% of the time. I've been with some people, I'm just like, that dog ain't gonna hunt. Who? So there's that.
There's definitely been those.
I mean, you just end up with bad leadership, or you people that just like don't have any idea what the fuck they're doing.
Funny thing is, in my platoon, the guy in question I'm thinking of went home on leave and never came back to combat. So there was that. For those of the guys that
hold on, no. Whoa. I'm gonna pull a star. Hold up. I'm gonna pull a Starship Troopers here. Would you like to know more? Don't mention any names,
of course,
but just kind of give me the rundown, willy nilly, down and dirty on that stuff. So,
well, it was honestly probably my first and only engagement where I was actually able to shoot back. Any other time we got shot at, I was like in the vehicle at some point. So it's like, okay, we got shot at. But no, this time I was actually able to engage back. And it was a younger guy. I mean, say younger guy. I mean, shit. I mean, I was 22 at the time. 23?
Younger, like army experience wise,
younger, like army experience and maturity. He was definitely. I mean, let's be honest. We're all grunts. Maturity was never there. But
ooh, that hit hard.
That way,
yeah, it's like ooh, that stung, but fuck, it's so true.
It is so true.
Just
but
gonna
yeah,
have to eat that one without the freaking the condiments on it.
You know what I'm saying? But like, I mean, this guy, I mean, and not to talk any mess about him. Like, I mean, everybody has their own problems, whatever. There was just, I don't know. I don't know if it's that he didn't trust us to, keep him alive or what the hell the issue was. I just know we got into that engagement on the rooftop. Freaking, let's just say I hot brassed him with my rifle. I don't know if it was bad. He goes, and and he had to dip down and like pull the brass out from his
You
collar.
got the high ballistic collar on the Interceptor.
Yeah.
Oh,
and obviously,
ouch.
the collar is meant to be able to come up so that kind of shit doesn't happen during combat.
You're talking about like the ACUs and the
on the
multicams and
ACUs
shit?
where you take it and you just Velcro it over, right? But who did that? Who did that? Let's be honest. Who did that? Nobody. You freaking right there.
I did. I actually, what I would do is I had like one of those little like not like a shamag, but like one of those little like face gaiters.
Yeah,
so I would like tuck that down inside.
Neck gaiter.
I had it was foliage green to match ACU, so I would put that on, and then I would do the collar up like this, and if I didn't need it, I would just roll it down so I could leave it up, and I wasn't getting the chafing from the body armor, from the collar and stuff.
Nice.
And like the fabric wasn't like cutting into my like the Velcro wasn't sitting there scratching my shit all up, and
that makes sense.
But yeah, so like especially being up in the turret, I would just take that, take my helmet, freaking slide that up over my face, over the back. So I just this is all you saw on me was like this right here. So and I would usually run my goggles down because I was up in the top of the turret and shit. So
yeah,
as a machine gunner, that's what we did. So anyway, so yeah, I'm that guy.
I missed my 240 Bravo.
Fuck yeah, dude! It's a great weapon system.
So, he caught that hot brass, and again, it's like he was I can't remember if he was the first one to go home on leave, or I just remember he definitely was one of the first guys to leave. He wasn't the first, but he was one of the first. Like, essentially, like there was a couple of guys that went home before him, and then he went home. I'm almost positive it was like, if I remember correctly, I'm positive it was like in early December, and he got to go home on R&R first. Yeah, somebody went before him in like November. I don't remember who the hell it was, because I mean we got to. I think we got there in like October. We left in like late September, but we spent most of our freaking what you call it time in Kuwait, you know what I mean? And then in October we finally got to freaking Iraq. And then it was the craziest freaking thing though, but he never fucking came back after that. Just never came back.
So was he like, was it like desertion?
Technically, yes, it was considered desertion.
Anything ever happen with that? Like he get busted or caught or something? Or
if he got busted, which rumor was he had been busted.
Nobody
nobody ever heard anything about it. Now, if he ended up in Leavenworth, okay, he ended up in Leavenworth, but if anything, honestly, I'm
which leads me to my next point from the great Lawrence Thomas, LT. Don't smoke crack. Yeah. That's, I don't know. There's more to that story. We'd have to delve into another time, but let's get back to it. But anyway, so talking about trust. Thank you for that little sabbatical into the story of your deployment. Yeah, trust. So, from the word go, that's drilled into us pretty hard. You trust the guys on your fire team, you're super tight with them. You trust the guys in your squad. For me, it was a little bit different. We were supposed to have a 4-man team, but it was a 3-man gun team. You had the gunner, the assistant gunner, and you had the ammo bearer. We called the ammo bitch.
That's
so
right.
we had a 7-man squad as opposed to a 9-man squad, which whatever. You're supposed to also have an anti-armor guy carrying around the AT4, but we didn't have those.
No,
we didn't have those. We didn't have the personnel. We didn't have the equipment. So
we had AT4s.
Shut up.
So
you I mean, you do everything with these guys. You go to the gym. Like I've heard guys say, guys on a squad, they don't even refer to themselves by their rank. Like, when you're a sergeant or a staff sergeant, I've heard of guys saying, yeah, we called our team leaders and squad leaders by their first name instead of staff sergeants. So and so's, hey Joe, what's up? Where are we going? What are we doing? So, you just get super tight because you end up having to trust with those guys. So
yeah,
I would say, when I was over there, I probably trusted, the majority of the guys in my platoon. There's some guys that I really just didn't know or pal around with. So um leadership was kind of a different story at the platoon level. So, as I told you, we had our platoon sergeant got relieved. So yeah.
I
Yeah.
remember.
Yeah. That's a long story. Anyway.
Mhm.
So, and especially like coming home, people don't understand. Like we were talking, one of the other reasons we talked about this and we're talking about it now and this actually was probably like, last week and we were, having a little bit of vacation together and stuff with the families. We were just kind of talking about like, trust comes from brotherhood, and brotherhood, as a result of brotherhood, you earn the trust that you have with people.
Yeah.
I'm closer. I never served here with Alamo, obviously. Just two different places, two different times, all that stuff. But I am so much closer to him than I am with my two brothers. One who is unfortunately, has passed, and the one, my younger brother who's still here with us. Um, I'm obviously still very close to my younger brother. There's a younger gap. There's a shorter gap there, age-wise. Excuse me. There's about 2.5 years. My older brother and myself, there was about 8 years. Um, obviously, love them to death. Their family, their blood. On the same token, though, like I trust this guy. Not that I don't trust him, but I trust this guy because we've had some pretty serious talks about shit. Just being in a bad place and being like, "Hey, man, here's the deal. I need some help."
Indeed.
Kind of thing. And we just had those like hell when we were sitting out on their back porch smoking cigars and stuff, man, with that lovely
Smoking the stogies.
smoking the stogies in front of your new propane grill. Which, by the way, those bratwursts were awesome. I just want to tell you,
They were amazing.
I was so gassy on the way home. Good Lord.
Especially with those freaking
With the peppers and onions.
sauteed onions and peppers.
Killed it. Killed it.
And that corn on the cob.
Oh, yes. That was
Cook
fire.
that in the grill too.
Fire. Anyway, sorry, I'm getting a little moment there. Exactly. So yeah, I mean, and I the guys that I'm close with and the friends I'm close with, like I trust, them immensely. I trust, your wife with my daughter. No issue there whatsoever. I'm sure you could you trust your boys with me. Like if we were, off doing something, like I'm gonna keep them safe like they're my own damn kids.
Yar.
And it's the same thing, with people that you've just come to, that trust is earned, and it's something that it never goes away. And once you break it, though, there's a catch. You break that trust, go fuck yourself. It's like,
Yep.
no bueno. So, yeah, trust is a big issue for service members, the veteran community, and like, there's been plenty of well-documented examples of like when that works, when it doesn't work, so on and so forth. So we found a couple articles that we're going to read over real quick, and just kind of give you some context of this. So the first one, Alamo, is going to be the military.com, the career advice, military transition, all that good stuff.
Huey.
Let me know when you're ready. Got that up and you're ready? There we go. All right. You know what? I'm going to wet the whistle.
Yeah. Wet that whistle.
Okay, that sounded weird. This article is actually published a while ago. This is January 28th of 2014 from military.com.
Yeah.
Why veterans must relearn the concept of trust. The following is an excerpt from Lita Citroen's new book for veterans, Your Next Mission, a personal branding guide for the military to civilian transition. Information about the book. I write a lot, and I'm often interviewed by the media on the concept of building, sustaining, and regaining trust. Professionals in all industries, from banking to law to real estate, struggle with the concept of getting others to trust and believe in them. On a daily basis, each of us is bombarded with seemingly genuine marketing messages, from billboards to online pop up ads to advertisements posted on the back of restroom stall doors to greetings at networking events. And it feels like we are constantly being marketed trust. Excuse me. What can we possibly believe to be true? The messages pushed by many companies as well as independent professionals is trust. Quote, you can trust me. Quote, I have your back. And quote, you're in safe hands with me/us. In developing a personal brand, the focus must be on promoting that which is relevant and compelling to a target audience. While it is true that most target audiences need to trust the company, service, product, or individual who is selling to them, you simply cannot sell trust. Telling someone you can be trusted is not enough.
Damn right it's not.
And this is important, Alamo, for the new gig you got going on. So pay attention, your guy. Here's why. Telling someone you are trustworthy is like saying you're a good kisser. It really is up to others to assign that quality, not you. Trust is something you develop over time through respect, rapport, and building credibility.
Yep.
In working with returning military veterans, I've learned the values around trust and trust building are particularly complex. Excuse me. It took me months of persistence before I was able to get an organization to believe that my intentions and motives for wanting to help veterans with personal branding were genuine and not for commercial purposes. Even as I leveraged my connections in the media to bring a spotlight to the need for more resources, and yes, I was on camera speaking on the topic of helping veterans, some questioned my motives. Is she using the veteran community for personal gain? As a veteran, you learned to trust your commanders, your fellow servicemen, and the orders that you were given. There is a sanctity and fraternity to military brotherhood, male or female, that is nearly impermeable. This tight-knit bond and unwavering trust serves as a valuable survival skill and creates lifelong bonds that are almost unimaginable to those of us who have not walked in your boots. Quote, during our basic military training, boot camp, basic training, etc., we learned to trust soldiers to our left and right, says an Army sergeant I worked with. Throughout our service, we learned to trust people from various backgrounds and cultural beliefs. We participate in joint exercises with other countries and trust, with limitations, our allied counterparts. Now, you will need to learn to trust people who do not have military training in ethics and civilians with specific, valuable expertise who want to help you succeed. This will not be easy, I understand. Trusting others is not the same as being naive. You will not go blindly along with everyone who offers you help or offers you an opportunity. Undoubtedly, you will encounter companies, consultants, and others who want to advise and guide you to a free who may not. I'm sorry, let me back that up. My eyes are already starting to get a little weird. Undoubtedly, you will encounter companies, consultants, and others who want to advise and guide you for a fee who may not actually have your best interests at heart. Being discriminating and cautious is still important. You still must continue to use a discerning eye and rely on your experience, information, and intuition to make good decisions. But you will need to broaden your acceptance of assistance and guidance from those who have something of value to offer you and from whom you choose to accept offers.
Ooh.
Trust is a two-way. This is the title of the next part. Enlisting, building, and sustaining trust is tricky. While most list trustworthy as a personal quality on their resume. Oh, yeah. I think I have that on mine too. To be someone who is trusted takes effort, time, and focus. Trust also needs to go.
I don't have that one on mine.
Trust needs to go both ways. You need to be trustworthy to others and need to be able to trust other people. Undoubtedly, there are people in the world who might want to take advantage of you who do not have your best interests at heart. Duh, it's 2025. That's kind of an understatement. I digress. Back on track. This is not a civilian/military issue. There are also many people who will value you for your contribution, who will recognize your potential and will extend resources to help you become who you are meant to be in this world. They will earn your trust if you are open to it. As you become someone who is trusted in your career, you will build integrity and credibility in the value of your word, and your reputation will reflect this value. As you learn to believe and trust in other people, then you will continue to display humility, vulnerability, and personal accountability. A lot of abilities there. As you grow those relationships over time, people who matter to you will learn to refer you, appreciate your values, and advocate for your career goals. The last part's just talking about the rest of the article there. So kind of just mirrored a lot of what we just talked about freehand starting off. It's just like, oh, let's go from there. So yeah. So
I don't know. I when it comes to us and like, you know, especially going out into the civilian world, like my thing is I am not a very trusting individual when it comes to people outside of my circle. So, people outside of my circle, I have to really, and I say this on both ends, like I have to
give them the once over.
Yeah, I have to really work in myself. I've noticed when it comes to like other people, I really have to work in myself to really build that trust, because you know the article's not wrong when it says it. It's definitely a two-way street. You know what I mean? You have to give if you want to receive when it comes to trust.
Put good in, get good out. Simple as that.
So, you know, for me, I'm very much, if you damage my trust, even if it's just a little bit, like it could have been, I trusted you to not take my pen and you took my pen. Okay, kick rocks.
I trusted you not to eat the lunch in the fridge at work that had my name and date on it, but you did, yes. Slimy bastard. It's like, that was my leftover filet mignon, you bastard. Like, come on, man. Like, that's a big one.
Like little things like that. It gets irritating.
Workplace trust, dude. Oh, I could go on for that for an hour. There's so much stupidity that I've had to experience in my life from that, and I'm sure you have too.
Not just stupidity. Stupidity.
Like asininity and all the itties and all that kind of crap.
You know, so I definitely, that article definitely was speaking some truth. Like it's and I'm sure it's the same with like, you know, I mean, I'm sure it's the same with you. I'm sure it's like with a lot of us that have served, you know, like, cause it's, you're so used to such a tight knit group and you're so used to, you know, being a part
having
of that group
having that fellowship and that bond and that camaraderie that like when you leave, it's like you lose all. I mean, in a way you lose that, because like, especially like when you separate from the military, you retire,
right?
In a sense, you do lose that. You're not going to lose the friendships with those people. I'm sure you keep in touch, but it's not like seeing them every day to day.
And the civilian world is just not built that way. It's just not. Which is why I think so many veterans gravitate towards jobs where either it's veteran run or it has similar values to what
police, fire, EMS, construction.
Correct. I think that's why it happens like that. Because there's no way in hell you're going to convince a veteran to go join something and not expect them to have some kind of questions like, well, if I come to you with this, are you going to give me this, or is this going to work out the way it,
oh man, dude,
in my mind should, you know what I mean?
I'm gonna say this example. Okay, this relates to me, and so obviously, you know, for those of you that don't know, Alamo and I at one point worked together, and that was for being in the civilian sector, working in a gun store with a bunch of other guys. Number one, but two, a lot of them, which a high percentage of them were like military vets and or law enforcement. You know, that was probably the best experience with that because you had all these guys that had very similar traits and experiences. Even though you could have a guy who is on an air base in Diego Garcia, you could have a Marine who was out at K Bay, you could have a sailor who was on Iwakuni, Japan, you could have a freaking guy who was at Fort Riley, Kansas, in the middle of nowhere. They're all going to have that commonality of experience. It's not going to be exactly the same, but enough to where they they can sit down, they can shoot the shit with each other. And I think, and that's something like I've had to defend a lot of times. Like, why do you always hire military guys? I'm like, because they get it. They understand the work ethic. They understand, like, hey, it's a job. It's just got to get done. Yeah. Let's just get it done. So, but yeah, and so like that, so take that contrast. And now we're going to fast forward to present day where, as a therapist, I am in a very, 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 female eccentric workplace. Like I'm the only, like I'm one of the few. I'm one of the. That's probably what I meant to say.
Is
female dominant, and like I'm a therapist. I'm there a lot because that's where the kid I work with goes to school. It's at this this specific location, which I can't say due to HIPAA constraints, obviously. But there's a couple other guys that come in, they're therapists as well. But like you're coming into like this very female dominant workplace, and it is like completely different. Like I have some very good friends there. I would say I get along with everybody there for the most part. Some of them I don't interact with too much. But the ones that I do, like we have a pretty tight bond, and there's some trust there that they're there to do a job. I'm here to do a job. I'm here to help out and whatnot. But it's just not the same thing when you're working with a bunch of guys and you're being very jocular, and there's a lot of locker room humor.
Jocular.
Exactly. I forget who the hell it was, but one of the guys walked into the break room and like just let one fly, and then the boss's wife walked in and she's just like, I mean, Jesus Christ, the fact that we went did the freaking butthole game in the cash register with good. Oh, John boy, love you, miss you, buddy. Like, that was the best. You couldn't do that kind of stuff. Although
it was the bestest.
It was the bestest of times, and it was the worstest of times. So, do you want to cover that second article, or do you want to just skip ahead to the third? I think that one is okay. I could go either way if you want to use it.
The statistics.
It's the one that from pewresearch.org.
Yeah, the Pew Research actually had. I liked it because it had statistics in it.
Okay, so go ahead. Why don't you go ahead and read that one, and then I'll hit the third and final one, the Life After War article. So why don't you read that one, and we'll get on. We'll kick this pig.
Let's rock this joint. As
that too.
Man, Jim Carrey once said, how veterans and the public see each other and themselves. So this is actually a paper from the Pew Research Center. They actually went over some pretty good statistics on there. It's actually from September the 10th, 2019. So this one's actually not as far separated as the previous article that we found.
The American veteran experience and the post 9/11 generation.
Yes.
It's got me intrigued.
So basically it goes through and it kind of it drops some pretty interesting statistics inside here. But the article says large shares among veterans in the U.S. public say people who have served in the military are more disciplined, patriotic, and loyal than those who have not served. And about a third or more in both groups say veterans are more hardworking. Still, when it comes to things like being tolerant and open to all groups, the public is less likely to see this as a trait associated with military service than veterans are themselves. That's interesting. It says majorities among veterans and the public say being disciplined and patriotic better describe those who have served in the military than those who have not. So if you look at the chart here that they have listed, we're trying to zoom just a little bit on here.
And if you are following along at home, this article, again, was posted September 10th, 2019. This is pewresearch.org/social trends/2019/09.
Yes.
Yeah, you can find it that way. But it's Pew Research Center, and the report. This is part 4 of this larger case study on the table of contents, and this is again dated September 10th of 2019. In case you want to follow along or look at the data a little bit more discriminately on your own time.
Indeed.
Yes.
So if you look at what it says here, right, it says obviously better describes those who have served, better describes those who have not served, and then serving in the military doesn't have much to do with this, blah, blah, blah. If you look, there is quite a bit of a disparity in terms of how things are viewed. If I remember correctly, I believe this side is the side for, I'm guessing this is what veterans think of themselves. This is what civilians think, right? So over here you have obviously the disciplined area. It says veterans are 84% more disciplined than, your average American adult, 71% more patriotic than your average American adult, which is at 59, 68% more loyal than your average American, who's 48%, 54% more hardworking than opposed to the 36. And then obviously it goes on tolerant, independent thinker. What you do notice here, though, is that it gets a little bit different when it gets to rigidity and inflexibility in thought, emotional stability, and prone to violence. Now, what I will say is that these right here, I almost feel as if this is like, I'm not sure how to explain. Like, I feel like it's a little bit more skewed because this comes down to the thought process. I think which me and Mac have discussed earlier on in earlier episodes, that basically regular civilian people tend to see veterans as more of a threat to the workplace. Like, for example, if you put like, oh yeah, I was in the infantry in the United States Army or the Marine Corps or whatever on your resume, they tend to see you as more of a threat to the workplace than an assistance.
But I also, and thinking back all the way to our very first installment of the VIP of series with Brent, when we had Brent Lee on here, he actually discussed this quite a bit. He was like, when you're going into the civilian workplace, you kind of have to like demystify the military stuff. Yeah, you can, talk about it and stuff, but let's really upsell it. You have, experience working logistical concerns, working when you're doing like, training with the Afghan army or some stuff. You have experience working with team members where there's a language barrier present and all that kind of stuff. So it's like, there's ways to go about that for sure, but I think you're right though. There's a little like that whole bottom portion of that. You're just like, oh, look at that. About that. Yeah.
What I did find interesting though is that on the civilian side, they actually, because when it comes to rigidity and inflexibility in thought, like there's actually an equaling out right down here, right? If it's 55 and 55%, which tells me that, there's plenty of people that think, well, you can be pretty rigid in thought yourself, even if you haven't served in the military, which is true. I've known plenty of people that haven't served in the military that are freaking like rock solid on
gotta stick up their ass.
Yeah, and they're essentially a freaking like a freaking neutron star's weight, just sitting there.
Automaton.
Yeah, just sitting there that they will not move if you try to freaking tell them that this is something new. Like, ooh, it's new? No. So,
And
I
again, it's like,
found
oh,
that
well,
actually
we're not
pretty
going to do it this way because it's just business.
yeah. Yeah, oh my god. I hate that thought process.
I do too.
But
Continue on there, my guy.
you know, basically if you look at the way the civilian statistics work out, it's basically saying, well, they don't really think there's much of a difference when it comes to the military. Now there are some that are like in the middle ground, right? There are some that are in the middle ground, but there is a bit of a disparity with how, obviously the civilians and veterans actually see themselves, which I find very interesting. And the article goes on to say fully 84% of veterans and 67% of all adults say the term disciplined better describes people who have served in the military. Roughly one quarter of all adults, 26%, and 12% of veterans say that serving in the military does not have much to do with this trait. Just 3% of both groups say being disciplined better describes people who have not served in the military. If you notice that disparity. Similarly, about 7 in 10 veterans, 71%, and 59% of adults say patriotic better describes people who have served in the military. About one quarter of veterans, 26%, and 34% of adults say being patriotic has little to do with military service. Here again, small shares say that this trait better describes people who have not served in the military, 2% of the veterans, and 4% of the public. While a majority of veterans, 54%, say the term hardworking better describes those who have served in the military, a majority of the public, 56%, says this characteristic is not necessarily related to military background. About a third, 36% of all adults, say this trait better describes those who have served in the military. Small shares of veterans, 2%, and the public, 4%, say hardworking better describes those who have not been in the military.
Let me pause you real quick, bud, because this is something I was kind of thinking about when I read this article, but then like it just kind of popped into my head. So
I think I
again,
know where you're going with it too, but go ahead.
this article is from 2019. We're obviously still in the throes of war in Afghanistan. GWAT's still a thing, all that kind of stuff. I wonder how this would change now, not just because we're not really at an active conflict anymore. GWAT
Right.
is over and done. There's an end date to it now. But also just with all the social, the social demographics of, what's going on nowadays, like hell, we get told all the time, if you're a male, a military age male, like you're the reason that there's problems in the world because you're just a freaking, baby killing automaton or some crazy shit. I mean, it's especially with like, especially in the last 5 years, with everything going on where anybody of authority, was pretty much bad.
Yeah.
I would be really curious to see all of these people, how that's changed or skewed the data in the 6 years, 5.5 years since these original data points were taken, because it changes. It's going to change over time.
It does.
The social climate, that's what I was looking for. The social climate, that we are in right now is dramatically different, compared to 2019. That was before, the Biden administration. Now we are post Biden administration, and all that kind of stuff. So there's a lot of different things. There's laws being changed here and there. It's just the mindset of the public and the populace. I mean, who knows, man? Is that where you thought I was going with that?
Yeah, kind of, sort of.
Great.
You're in the bow pack.
I'm in the bow pack. Like Fenway pack.
Fenway, the big green monster.
The big green monster. Oh my
Big
god.
green monster.
Do you
So
want to keep reading that stuff or
no? I honestly I think it's all pretty self-explanatory. Like, I mean, really, like, bottom line, like, I really think it's kind of like what's the term? Like, freaking A, like when it reflects, like, because, like, I've seen a lot of guys get, you know, and this is like a civilian talking to me about, military guys, and like talking about how, like, oh, don't this doesn't combat, like, doesn't, like, you guys are like crazy. Like, I know my brother-in-law is crazy because he served. It's like, what do you mean crazy? What do you mean?
I think I know where you're going with that, and like,
You know what I mean? Like,
I don't like lumping everybody into a stereotype.
and
Number one,
see, that's the
stereotypes are
thing.
like assholes. Everyone has one. They all stink. They're all terrible. They're all full of shit.
I thought that was everyone has an opinion. They're like an asshole.
Well, it happened to work in this case, so I'm gonna roll with that shit.
Yeah.
But also the fact too, I just think, like, are there people out there that might have some instabilities from what they went through? Sure. Look at it, that happens. Just not saying it doesn't happen, but it doesn't mean it happens to everybody. I mean,
exactly.
Hell, I was talking.
And that's the thing. That's the thing I tried to relay to that person. It's like, not all of us. Not all of us go. Like, some of us go through a lot, but some of us, we go through it, and it's kind of like,
okay,
it was just another day. It was just work.
You did Tough Mudder. What was that like? Dirty.
Nah.
Muddy. I never did Tough Mudder. I kind of want to. But anyway.
I kind of want to do it too. I'm not going to lie.
Oh, yeah. We got to find one in Florida.
Yeah.
So you can represent the podcast. Yeah, buddy. No, but like, I'm a firm believer. Number one, like, if somebody asks me a question about the military, I try to give them as much of information. I love, like, the old school newscasters of yesteryear, like Walter Cronkite. What it is, what it shall be, what it was. That's just me doing a Robin Williams impersonation of doing that from fucking Good Morning Vietnam. No, but like, they gave you enough information, and from there you formulated your own opinion. It wasn't skewed this way, or that way, all that kind of crap. They gave you the information, kind of more leaning towards a neutral point, just giving the facts, not politically leaning left or right, all that kind of stuff. And you made your own damn opinion. And it's like, if somebody asks me a question about the military, I try to give them as much context as possible. So I can manage the expectation. I'll give them the information about.
You mentioned that, but it's gotten pretty bad when certain web browsers have to add the political meter to their bias thing.
That means you're biased.
Yeah.
Somebody was telling me that they actually, for a time, they were actually reading. They're getting a lot of their news source from AJA, Al Jazeera America, because it was actually pretty neutral. It's like, it really wasn't that bad. It's like, okay.
Al Jazeera?
Al Jazeera America, yeah. It's a news outlet.
They also have to have a tendency to have a skew towards certain things that I'm not going to go into.
But again, so let's break that down for a minute. You want to trust the news you're reading, but then it depends on which way that the news leans.
Mm-hmm.
If you're having somebody that leans a certain way, are you more likely to believe trust the news that you're reading or hearing because you lean in that same general direction, versus the quite opposite? It's going to be easier for you to swallow that news pill versus like, and you just have that reaction where you're gagging on it, like, it's crap.
Basically.
So there's a lot of things here. And like I said, if somebody asks me a question, I make sure to tell them, from my experience, I'm not going to say like Abe Simpson over here, but I'm going to talk about.
I want to watch Matlock.
Dude, you should do a wedding as Abe Simpson. That would be hilarious.
We're going to marry you two, and then
You should be writing this down, by the way, because that's good material. That's great material. But anyway, I mean, like, if I'm explaining something, I want to tell them, like, so I'm going to base this off of my experience during my time, because something that Brian and I have talked about many times, we talk about when we were in the military. Guess what? It's not our army anymore. It's not even close to that, because you got to understand, GWAT's been closed. It's not our military. It's things, they do things different. We're not even wearing the same damn uniforms anymore, which is okay, because the pinks and greens are freaking dope as shit. They are awesome. They're amazing. Lucky bastards, exactly. But at the same time, it's like,
I would have rocked that shit.
Oh God, dude. Yeah, man. I saw a picture of some guy had on an airborne beret, had on his pinks and greens, had a brown jump boots. I'm just like, oh, sexy. And he was a warrant officer. I'm like, oh, we'll never see you again. Goodbye. He's gone. He's never seen again.
I used to love freaking saluting our chief. He was like the maintenance chief. And we'd be like, always ready, sir. He's like, fuck off.
Fuck off. We had this one chief.
Chief was awesome, man. He did.
Chiefs are a different breed, man. We had this one. Literally. So when I was in Afghanistan, we had these.
Wait. One time. I swear to God.
It's good when he's telling me to.
One time, I swear to God, he was so nonchalant about it. We're like, always ready, sir. He goes.
He gave you the faint.
He was like,
he saluted
and we were just like, kind of like, Sergeant Savage, just like,
So we had a couple of maintenance chiefs with us. Chief CW3 Hickson was the guy in charge of the motor pool and all the maintenance shit.
Yep.
And he was so we were attached to a bunch of guys from, I don't think it's a unit anymore, but it was, at the time, it was the 196 Field Artillery Brigade out of Tennessee Army National Guard. Our commander was awesome, Colonel Guerin. He went from before he was an 06, he was an E8. He was a first sergeant, and then went all the way up to full bird. It's like, that's pretty fucking dope, right? Number one. Number two, they were all like, and I mean this in the best way, like they were all good old boys. Like they went hunting and fishing and like just loved the outdoors. Just good old Tennessee boys, right? Like I think a couple of them were rocking like Tennessee Volunteers, like when they played the Gators and stuff. So like it got a little bit heated, but Chief Hickson was just him. He'd always walk around like, I'm no shit. Like his chew was like this. Just, I mean, not a pinch, not a dip. Like he had a fucking hooter. Like it was a big one. He'd be like, hey, boy, what's going on? Like, just I can't even do it because my tongue's in my mouth. Yeah, yeah, exactly. But we didn't have spitters. We just chucked it out wherever.
Oh,
but like,
you ever had the guys that had the bottle and like they would walk past you and all you hear is just a from the bottle just sloshing around in your pocket.
In their cargo pocket.
Oh my God!
I got one, but I got one worse. Good friend of mine, I was giving him a ride home from our armory in Sanford. So I stopped at my house real quick. He said hi to my mom and dad. We got in the car. Well, we had both gotten some drinks a while back, and they were both Pepsi bottles. And mine was on one side, and I grabbed his by the other. And I'm like, I immediately hit it in my mouth. I'm like, why does that taste minty? No. Recycled dip. Awful. But yeah, fucking Chief Hickson would just walk around and he'd just be like, "Hey, boy, what's going on?" Like he just kind of had like that good old boy, and it would just kind of make you grin. He's just like, "What's going on, Chief?" Oh man, good stuff. But anyway, let's read that last one on trust. So this one is from lifeafterwar.org. This article is called Trust, Why It's So Hard to Let Others In. So, I'm going to read this one real quick. This one is from... Oh, that's obviously January 14th, because I'm like, what the hell's the 14th month? Duh. This is from January 14th of 2015. Why
Durka.
it's Muhammad Jihad. Why it's so hard to let others in. Written by Britta Katz, and she was formerly Rek Jajusevic. And we've read one of her articles before. Life After War, I remember. Before, so,
yes.
Anyway, I've spent this entire lifetime being the strongest person I know. I know the walls that allow you to reach out, but won't let anyone reach in. I know what it's like. I know what it is to trust yourself the most, because at the end of the day, you are the one responsible. I know how terrifying it is to even consider being vulnerable, and how that fear can get praised as strength and courage, or get judged as cold, uncaring, and indifferent. It wears many labels and gets interpreted in many ways. It's good when others need you to be stronger than they are. It's bad when others perceive that you don't give shit. Good, bad, right? Like that first one, I was reading this, and I've read that, and I'm like, dude. Sucked me into this. Let's go. Like, God, it's talking right to me.
I'm glad we put that in there, dude, because I'm
glad you did too. Absolutely, man. We've had some good luck finding good source material. So,
yeah.
Good, bad, right, or wrong. I'm not going to label it. It is what it is. These walls are there because at some point they had to be built.
Or as my nana used to say, "Is what it is."
Dude, come on. I was on a roll being serious, and you just totally like, mira, it is what it is. What it is.
Is what it is. I think that's like the typical Puerto Rican grandma response. Like, mira, is what it is.
If I say that to any of your sisters, are they going to start giggling like I just did?
Probably.
Okay.
My favorite one was, mira, on your own business.
Like,
¿qué significa eso, nana? Mira, own your own business. She was really trying to say, mind your own business.
It's like it's really good. It's something that's going to be so profound and good advice, but it's just in broken English. You're like, what? It's so good.
Yeah, basically.
I heard somebody, and you know who I'm talking about. I'm not going to mention her on the air because I don't want to get bad juju or anything. Yeah. She said, "I take on my foot and I put it in your ass." You know what I'm talking about? Oh my God, yes. All right, and we're back. Good, bad, right, or wrong. I'm not going to label it. It is what it is. These walls are there because at some point they had to be built to keep you safe. They're effective. They make you effective. As a war fighter, they're necessary. You don't make decisions about others' lives and deaths without them. You don't carry that responsibility for death in you without learning to create emotional distance and protect your heart. But at what point do the walls stop keeping you safe? When do they switch from protecting you to inhibiting you? When death shows up in my life, I meet it with a strange sense of ease and familiarity. I don't cry. I don't break down. I do what has to be done. I am the strong one, and that strength gives others permission to be weak. Actual word here should be human, not weak.
Right.
People around me question the depth of my ability to feel and wonder why I'm not more upset. They don't know what lies beneath, or that my soul has learned over lifetimes to face death this way. Those of you who know me and interact with me know that I am not a cold person. I have great depths of feeling. I love and embrace where others have said love is not possible or worthwhile. I have no qualms about diving into the darkness with you and fighting for your life. And I cry with you. I cry more than I ever let anyone know.
Yeah.
If there is anything that coming home to a warfighter community has done for me, it's allowed me to dwell among people who understand me, who know how to be real with me, people I belong to. For all the walls that PTSD and combat erect, and the reputation warfighters have for being disconnected and unemotional and distrusting, my experience with you is just the opposite. I've never met men and women who connect at a more real level, express their feelings more authentically, and allow themselves to be so utterly vulnerable and trusting me. Thank
Yep.
you, and thank you for embracing me. Maybe that's why my own soul is asking questions and why I'm writing this. Those walls keep us safe, keep us from feeling hurt. They reduce risk.
Yep.
They allow the soul to carry intense, heavy loads without collapsing. They are not without purpose. We need them. But if we step back from roles and stand there as human beings, then what? The human soul was meant for connection, to be deeply seen and known and accepted, and to experience that oneness with other souls. It was meant to trust. And that is far easier said than done. One of the blessings you have is that you know more about real trust than anyone else. Yet, when you pull
Mhm.
away from the safety of your brothers, trust is one of the hardest things to feel, isn't it? Why is that? Could it be because you come from a community where you are deeply bonded, connected, where trust is implicit mostly, and you get torn out of that and sent off alone to a civilian world where no one is bonded, no one really trusts anyone or cares to, and no one really has your back?
Yep.
Suddenly, you are different than everyone around you. You feel
Speaking my
vulnerable,
mind.
right? This one, man. Oh,
Like
I
literally,
gotta.
like
I'm gonna
honestly,
have to stop for a minute and break this one down because
dude.
this hit me on
I,
so
you guys
many
can't
fucking
see it on the
levels,
screen
man.
right now, but I got goose pimples a couple times already
Yeah,
because this is like
yeah,
literally. Oh man.
man. Okay, I'm good. Suddenly, you are different than everyone around you. You feel vulnerable, and the walls go up and get thicker. You shut out the people who might love you because you don't trust that they will be able to accept you if they discover who you are now. Your pain makes you different. Your grief and guilt and the little things that trigger memories and sensations and anger make your life so complex to navigate. How the fuck could anyone get it, let alone love you? So
Yep.
you withdraw, and the fear of being known intensifies. But what is it about vulnerability that we are really so afraid of? The quick answer is rejection. But the more I search my own soul, the more I think it's something else. I think it comes down to what we believe about our own worth. I
Mm,
think it's about our own inability to believe that we could be loved and accepted for who we are that scares us the most. Because if someone really does love us, then what? We don't really believe we are worth it. And if we allow ourselves to be vulnerable, to find out, and we get rejected, our worst suspicion will be confirmed. And we just can't take that risk.
yep.
What if we're wrong? What if love is greater than that? What if someone manages to see past the wounds and pain and fear driven behavior and grief driven anger and sees beauty and joy and the entirety of you? What if what we need to do is stop believing you're not worth loving? What if we need to stop letting our own fear own us? What if we need to move toward love instead of away from it to be truly safe? How might it change our lives? It's something to ponder. Okay, so
Huh. Man, dude.
yeah, dude. So something that okay. You go ahead and I'm gonna like unfuck my mental word salad and
Oh.
get it all like lined up and straightened
So
out.
okay, so literally, I like pretty much every word of that entire thing. I felt
Yeah.
every freaking word. Um, because there have been moments, especially because, um, w- I mean, we've talked about it on the show before. I'm not going to shy away from, the fact that I've talked about I have anger issues sometimes, um, and you know those anger issues, you know, just like the article talked about, like it. I worried that I would be unlovable. I worried that would not be able to find someone, or even worse, that I would lose the very person who I love the most because of the issues I have. Um, Multiple times. A lot more often than I want to admit. But oh my God, if that wasn't like when I tell you, like I was getting literal goose pimples as we're like reading through this, like I like genuinely like getting goose pimples. Um, it's insane to know that I'm not the only one. Um, that there's obviously if hearing it from one person who's writing it as if like it's me just speaking it, that tells me that it's far more than just one of us or two of us or that it's a lot of us. You know what I mean? And in a weird kind of, I don't really want to say messed up kind of way, like it's comforting to know that you know we know how each other are feeling, if that makes sense. I don't know.
And
It
maybe not. And I'm sorry to interrupt you, dude.
Nah, you're good.
Maybe not how we're feeling, but we can at least like relate to it.
Relate.
That's,
Yeah.
and I think that kind of just goes back to the core of what makes our community so easy and so easy to understand each other. Like, when I was a department head, I had guys that were Marines, I had guys that was Army Ranger. We all just understood that we've had, that trust was built pretty easily because we all understood that, like, we've gone through, things that some people, a good majority of the people in America and in our society have not. So the trust was there a lot easier and a lot faster than it was to most people. When it
Yep.
came to, we had one guy that got, he was blown up and injured. He had, some things going on with that.
Hmm.
So yeah, I mean, that's, um, fuck, where was I going with that?
You were going places. You
I
were
was going
going
somewhere.
places.
It's going
Yep.
somewhere, and I just got stuck in a ditch somewhere. I'm like,
Hmm.
yeah.
Hmm.
But yeah, I mean, again, like, dude, we call up on it. We honestly we should do a better job. Like, we call up on each other
Yeah,
in a general
I
sense,
definitely
and
agree with
and
that,
like,
man.
oh, that's what I was gonna say. So did you finish your thought, and then I'll get what I was gonna say, man.
No, but no, I'm like pretty much like you because when you come back, obviously you are struggling to figure out how you're going to make it in this because like you see it's almost as if like a veil has been lifted from over your face, and like you can see just how distrusting so many people are of everybody in your society, you know and because you see just how bad it is with everybody else, especially everybody else that has not served. When you come back and you try to join that workforce, you're like seeing everybody for what they are. Like, this guy does this and this girl does this and this guy doesn't like this and this girl hates this. And you realize like just how much, you know, distrust and like for me specifically, like I'm not gonna say I pride myself on really being a people reader. I'm pretty good at like not knowing what people think, but knowing how to read body language and all
Oh yeah.
like the finities of things. And you can tell when people like you're able to read people and see when they're like uncomfortable around you, don't know what to think of you, all that good stuff. And um I remember specific um like interactions where I would be talking to people, the conversation would be going great, and then somehow or another, the conversation of me being a veteran would pop up, and then they're like, you can tell, like they're kind of like, oh, like And it's like, and that kind of like, you know,
Mhm.
that thought process in my mind, like all of a sudden, like in my mind, I'm thinking, what's the problem? We were just hitting it off just now, but now I'm,
Everything was
I'm a veteran.
fine, and then our conversation hit a
Yeah,
freaking pothole in South Tampa,
yeah. You find out I'm a veteran, and
and
now you're leery.
yeah.
Like,
But I think also too, like I was talking about with like the social climate of things. Like back during
yeah,
GWAT, it was like that was such a great thing. It's like, oh, thank you for your service and this that, and the other. And
yeah.
now that we've been out of
There was
war and
still there
stuff,
was still such a there was still such an air of patriotism up until I would
there
say it
was a
started
certain level of
going.
prestige to that too.
Yeah, I would say it
And
started going downhill around 2011ish, 2012ish. It started just going, and not like fast. It was starting to just go from this,
gradual.
and it was just like, oh yeah, well, you guys are good. You guys are good. Oh well, why are we still at war? Why are we still at war? Oh yeah, you know,
Yeah.
just
And
slowly started tanking.
yeah, it's just
People were getting tired of it. So were we.
I get it. I get it. That's why, as much as I love Toby Keith songs, like I heard him so much, I'm just like, I'm okay.
There's a tear in my beard. I'm here singing country. Wait, what?
Did you just make that up?
Yes.
Okay, so the point I wanted to make on that article it was talking about was putting up the walls and stuff and seeing death. So like when my mom
Yeah.
had her cancer scare a couple years ago, I took her to the emergency room because she wasn't feeling good. Then we ended up going to we went to like the walk-in clinic and they were like, we can't help you. So we walked across the street to the ER and they were like, okay, so here's some stuff. And like things were moving so fast.
Yeah.
And at the time my older brother was still living at home. And he kind of got a little bit like a little bit snotty at the fact that like I wasn't keeping him up to date right at the moment. I'm like, dude, like
Yeah.
you're at home, you can't really go anywhere because you're using a walker to get around. And I'm not trying to say anything bad about him, but it's just I'm looking at the facts and it's like, okay, you're at home, you're not going anywhere. You have a phone, I will update you as necessary. And like, like my younger brother came over and like to take care of some stuff, and he was kind of like, why is there? I need to know what's going on. Like, I get it, you're the older brother, you're the man of the house, but in a way you're also not. Like, I'm sorry. And like, you know, when we had to like kind of go through all that stuff, it was like it was rough. It was hard.
Yeah.
So not just that, but like, when my brother ended up getting sick and he was in the hospital for a couple of weeks before he passed, like it's the same thing. Like, what that's like. You've been
Yeah.
around it enough, you've known guys that have died, people have died. And it's like on one hand, it's hard because it's a blood relative. It's your family. This is somebody who's been with you your whole time, your life. But unfortunately, death is one of those things that, like, the reason you trust it is because when the more it happens, the easier it gets. And that sounds really
Yeah.
morbid to say, but there's some truth to that. Like,
It's gonna come for us all one day.
well, not just that, but like experiencing it from somebody else, like my
Right.
grandfather, my father, my brother. Um, yeah, I've been very fortunate, thank you, that I haven't lost anybody. There's been one guy that I served with that died, and it was from health issues.
From health complications.
I think it might have been actually from COVID or something. Like he might have had like pneumonia really bad or something. I'm not 100% certain. Um,
Yeah.
I I I would have went to the funeral, but I had COVID at the time, so I was just like,
Damn.
yeah. So, um, yeah, and it's just one of those things. It's like I don't, I know what to expect when death comes knocking on the door and stuff because I've been to experience enough to know that I can trust what's going to happen, like the different stages of it. But like when it gets to be somebody that's like super super close to me, like not so much family, but like a close friend.
Yep.
That's I'm gonna be in such a shitty place, man. I think it's gonna be
Yeah.
awful.
I get it, dude.
Let me not
I
spiral
definitely
down that
freaking
rabbit
get it.
hole and say, what the hell are you doing with your camera, dude? Like,
I
dude.
messed it up. Sorry.
Okay, I'm good.
So, did you have anything else you wanted to add on that, dude?
Nah, besides, like, I got a chance to see a lot of my friends that unfortunately they, ended up becoming part of the statistic, right? Um, yep. Um, I hate to say that I've kind of gotten accustomed to it. Um, it, but it's gotten to that point where I'm like, God, I'm really hoping and praying there's not another one. But I guess when there is one, just let me find out, you know, in a better way than just like, oh yeah, we just found out about him, and yeah,
No.
it sucks. You know what I mean? Because you
Words
get
right out of
to,
my mouth.
you get to know these guys like family. Sometimes you get to know them more intimately than family.
Yes.
Um,
Yes.
and
All of the yeses.
because of that, I mean, there is a camaraderie, there is a brotherhood, that is kind of ingrained in you all, that you're family without really being family. But it goes deeper than that.
It's a different form of family, but it's a much deeper, stronger bond. I mean, because
Correct.
I consider, and not to negate what you're saying or to contradict you, but like I consider you and Brian and our good friend Jose, I consider you guys like my other brothers.
Yeah.
I have a biological brother, and I have like guys that are in a way closer than brothers.
Yeah.
So it's just it's just a different context.
Yeah.
We're all family in one way or another. So anyway, I digress. Please continue.
No. Um my my experience with the whole thing, um, you know, that squad that got hit when we were in Iraq from Hunter Platoon, which was our snipers, you know, weirdly enough, even though I wasn't with those guys every day, I wasn't, you know, it still sucked. You know what I mean? It still sucked because they were good guys. They were all good guys. Had their quirks. So, a couple of them were funny as hell. Um,
How many of them were lost?
uh, 7, including 7, and if you include an interpreter, I believe it was 8.
7 guys were lost in one action.
From a houseborn ID. Yeah.
Damn. Damn.
Yeah, it was rough, man. It was definitely rough. But yeah, that's the nature of combat.
No, I hear you, dude. I hear you, man. You ready to wrap this up?
Yeah.
I know. Listen, this episode was. I think the conversation was a lot better than we intended because we kind of. I feel like I did a good job of kind of keeping my brain like. This is your range fan. Stay right here. Don't go outside the damn range flags. So, and we were able to like put some really good commentary along with the articles that we found and stuff. I actually just added a topic to our master list or our bullpen.
Nice.
Because it kind of what you said, something you said like triggered a thought in my head and went, ooh, yeah, that. So
I think I did pretty good not letting the squirrel run loose.
that's Nailed it. Yes. The squirrels are still in their fucking cages. Absolutely. That's awesome. Oh, that's why I love you, bro. God, you're just gee, right there. Anyway, so that's our conversation for episode 105. We're talking about trust. I know we kind of went off on a couple of tangents, but we did a pretty good job of kind of bringing them back to.
It was a tangent without
being just a
tangent. It was subject matter specific.
Ah, listen to you, yeah, buddy. So, so thanks to everybody for stopping by and taking part in our conversation on trust. Again, we went kind of a little bit, we sidestepped it a couple times, but we did a good job of bringing it back. So thank you for taking part of that with us. We're going to start closing it out like we do every single show. For those that have not seen or been a viewer of our show before, thanks for stopping by. First off, we appreciate you. We're still, even though we're in the middle of our 5th season, we're still a small podcast, and the way that we get new viewers is still word of mouth or people just kind of stumbling onto us and whatnot. So thank you for finding us by accident, maybe hearing about it from a friend. We appreciate you. So as I mentioned earlier, Alamo and I used to work together. We had this guy named John that worked with us as well. And John was like one of the funniest fucking people you'll ever meet. Just his mannerisms were just great, man. He was just hilarious, loved to laugh, full of life, piss and vinegar, all that good stuff.
He was a goofy son of a gun.
He was a goofy son bitch, exactly. And we all worked together at the range counter at the gun store we worked at, and it was great. We had a lot of fun. We did some shit. I'm surprised we didn't get fucking fired a few times. Like, hey, man, look at this camera up here. It's doing something weird when the door opens. I'm just like, oh, fuck, he got me. Yep.
He got me with that one, but his description was more so like, hey, man, like, there's something going on weird with the camera in there. Like, you mind, like, I'm gonna go in there and you just watch. I'm gonna check and see. Like, it's starting to get a little fuzzy in there. Like, give me a couple minutes. Then he walked in there, and then he goes, literally, it was like right in the camera.
Or that one camera right there in that first bay when you walk in, he already had a ladder shoved up there against the corner of the wall so you can't see it. He scurried up the thing like Spider-Man and I'm just like, oh, you fucker.
And as I'm sitting there watching, when it happened to me, a couple customers were looking, and I'm sitting there, I'm like, and then he goes, and I'm like,
and the customers were like, yeah, he got you.
And the customer literally. And you know who was there?
Who?
Freaking Kiefer. Do you remember Kiefer? Kiefer goes,
I'm friends with him on Facebook. That's awesome.
Kiefer's looking at the screen and he goes, well, shit, then he just got both of us, didn't he?
Good people's man. Yeah. So when we think about John, that's the kind of shit that we giggle and laugh our asses off because, hey, bro, why buy a box of ammo when you can buy a case? That's like 1,000 rounds, you know. And they would just be like, yeah, I'll do that. I'll buy the case of ammo. It was like the redneck Jedi mind trick. It was fucking insane. It was crazy.
Instead of this, it was like this was the Jedi mind trick right here. It was. Because Obi-Wan had his gesture, John had his.
Obi-Wan would be like, hello there. John would be like, what's up, bro?
Yep.
But anyway, so John was a guy that we worked with, and we all kind of left. The three of us left there. We all kind of went our own way. And then a few years ago, Alamo's wife has a channel called Flipside Mentorship. They got wonderful things going on over there. Please check it out. She asked if I would be interested in working an event for her channel. And I was like, yeah, sure. No problem. So I got to work it, with my very good best friend over here. And we had a blast. And then afterwards, Alamo was like, dude, we got to do something Gotta get the band back together. It's gonna be awesome. So we talked about it in little things. A few things kind of came up. Maybe I was doing this or that or whatnot. Well, I gotten a notification that had John tagged in it, and it was a friend of his who had said that John had passed, and it wasn't a good way. It was solved a temporary problem with a permanent solution kind of thing.
Yeah.
So it's like, hey. So I reached out to this guy right here, and I said, "Hey, man, did you hear about John?" He goes, I think you said something like, "No, I got to reach out to him. His birthday is coming up or something." Like, yeah, you can't. He's gone. So for me, that was kind of like the aha moment, the catalyst of like getting this started because, we had talked about it. It's like, dude, what about a podcast? And I was like, I don't know shit about a podcast. And you were like, bro, they put a monkey in outer space. How hard can it be? And I was like, that logic is logicking to me. So it's all good. So we started this podcast, and it was basically just, oh no, what did I start? The German.
It just came out. I'm sorry. It just came out.
All right, keep it together. I need to get through this. Okay, I don't want to giggle at this part. Okay, so we talked about doing a podcast, and then after that, that was kind of like the aha moment for me.
Yes.
And we kind of started on this journey, and we kind of figured out what we were going to talk about. Because veteran suicide being as a serious thing that it is nowadays.
Yeah.
We just crossed over, this is episode 105, so we've already done 100 episodes. So it's like, that's insane. It's amazing we've done that many, and we still got, miles more to go.
Yarp.
But we thought about what we could do to reach out to people. We talked about the name Battle Bros. This is very much a guy that I consider my brother. And then the combination of, a battle buddy in the military, like Battle Bros. Like, all right, I can see that. So
partially the wife's brainchild.
Yes, credit where credit's due. Miss Tisha made that happen. So thanks, Boo Boo. Appreciate you. So in the process of doing that, we kind of came up with this this mantra, so to speak. We call it the Battle Bros Code. And what the Battle Bros Code is, it's 4 easy things to remember when things get rough, things get hard. You don't feel like you can carry on, and you just feel like you're stuck in a rough place. So if you can remember the letters BROS, it's easy to remember. We're all about that infantry mindset of keeping it simple, stupid. So
that's right.
We followed suit. So be tenacious. Exactly. There it is right there on that lovely mug you got made there. Be tenacious. No matter what you choose to do in life, do it to the utmost of your ability. Do it to the fullest, with vigor and zest and all that kind of stuff. If you're going to be a salesman, if you're going to be a parent, if you're going to be a teacher, a therapist, if you're going to be a cop, a fireman, a first responder, if you're going to be in the military, do it to the best of your ability. Don't just go through it and kind of do better. I can tell you from experience, it's not fun. You need to go out there, be tenacious, and do it to the utmost. In the words of the eternal Ron Swanson, don't half-ass 2 things. Whole-ass 1 thing. Be tenacious. R, refuse to surrender. There's going to be a lot of times in life where things don't go your way. Things just kind of fall apart and go to shit. Okay? It happens. That's called life. All right. You can't really do anything about that. Only thing you can do is just, you do like what do they call it? The OODA loop. Observe, orient, direct, act. I think decide, act, or something like that. But yeah, when things go a little bit sideways, refuse surrender. There's going to be times where you got to start from scratch. You get knocked down in the dirt and stuff. Pick yourself up, dust yourself off, reshoot your azimuth, check your map, freaking shoot your azimuth, keep going. Okay, refuse to surrender. Right. Oh, obliterate your obstacles. Kind of going along with the one that we just talked about. There's going to be times when things come up. You have to learn how to get around those obstacles. Otherwise, you will never get past them. You will just stay there, stagnant, stuck, just like. What am I supposed to do now?
This guy was for a while.
No, stagnant, not constipated. There, dingus. Anyway,
Well, I was stagnant for a while in a few places of life.
there you go.
Mm.
Sometimes those obstacles are simple. Sometimes you just gotta there's mud on the sidewalk. You sidestep it, you go around it. Sometimes it's a little bit more complex. You have to take a detour, literally and figuratively.
Indeed.
Sometimes you got to go and take an alternate path through the woods to go down about a couple hundred yards and re-hit the MSR on the other far side of the obstacle and get back on track. Sometimes you have to go around a wall, dig under it, climb over it. Sometimes you have to breach the wall with C4 and
Yep.
Bangalores, and sometimes you got to knock it down by driving something through it. No comment. Fact of the matter is, was it you? It was you. Oh my god. The sight gags are so good. Long story short, folks, no matter what happens, don't let the obstacles stop you. Okay. Keep moving on, keep striving to hit that target, that OBJ, get on the X, do what you got to do. Okay. Last but not least, S. Seek out help in a time of need. In the event that you feel like you can't go on anymore, reach out to somebody. Okay. Humans by design, we are social creatures. We should not go through things alone. As we talked about, you have this wonderful thing of a sense of camaraderie and brotherhood with those you served with, or even in your own family. Okay. You have a support group around you. If you ever feel like harming yourself, stop. Don't do it. Okay. There are
Dang right.
options out there for you. If you cannot, let me back up. I know if I need to, I can call this guy right here and I can talk to him and we'll be up all night. We'll be, doing what we got to do. We'll laugh, we'll cry. We got to fucking talk things out, whatever the case may be. If you have somebody like that in your life, that's a wonderful thing because a lot of people don't. Okay. Whether it's a coworker, a family member, somebody you served with, whatever the case may be. If you unfortunately don't have someone like that in your life, there are options out there. Okay. If you feel like you're going to harm yourself, there is a National Suicide Prevention Hotline, 1-800-273-8255. Again, that's 1-800-273-8255, or just for the last four numbers, dial TALK, Tango Alpha Lima Kilo, TALK, 1-800-273-TALK. As of a couple of years ago, you can also dial 988. Again, that is 988, and you can do that from a mobile device as well. You can either text or you can call. Once you contact either of these numbers, you want to hit option 1. We're going to talk to a live person. They are open staff 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and they're there to deal with any type of crisis you may be having. Okay.
Huey.
There have been a lot of people who have succumbed to this statistic right here. 22 a day on average of veterans that solve a temporary problem with a permanent solution and they commit suicide. And that is part of our mission, is to stop that. Okay. I've heard that number is a lot higher. That may be the case, but we're just trying to bring attention to it so we can get it back down and get it down to 0. Okay. You have done your service. You have done your country a service for yourself and for others, and you deserve to have every chance to excel and to thrive and survive and to have your story told and pass your wisdom and knowledge on to the next generation. So I would advise you, if you are feeling like you can't go on, remember those 4 things. Be tenacious, refuse to surrender, obliterate your obstacles, seek out help in a time of need. If you can remember those, you should be doing a lot better than with no help at all. Okay.
If you can remember that.
So that's my piece of the pie. I'm going to slide it over to this guy, and then he's going to wrap it up and do all the technical stuff and this, that, and the other. And then we're going to get out of here for this week.
Huey. If you'd like to catch us on the social medias, there are multiple places you could do that. First and foremost is going to be on the meta platforms. One of those being facebook.com/battlebros.podcast. Also at battlebros_podcast on the Instagram. If you'd like to catch us on the X, formerly known as Twitter, You can catch us over there at Battle Bros PC. That's once again at Battle Bros PC. And on each one of those platforms, you can go ahead and instant message us. Let us know what you're thinking. Give us some comments. Give us some show ideas that you think you would like to hear about. Maybe, hell, even if you have a friend of yours or family member that you would like us to interview, hey, drop them down in the comment section or whatever, and we will do our best to get to them and try and get them on the show. If you feel like you're, needing a little bit more of that
One-on-one.
less public touch, we also have our Gmail, which is battlebrospc at gmail.com. Battlebrospc at gmail.com, where you can contact us privately, as the British would like to say. And basically leave us any kind of messages that you feel need to be heard and not necessarily seen, whether that's about yourself, family members, friends, whoever. Believe me when I tell you, we do monitor these things. And there are times on Instagram specifically when I may not get back to messages, or Facebook as quickly as possible, but I always answer you back. So do not worry. I do get to the messages. Trust me, I check them. If you like what you see here on the YubTub, you can catch us here live every Friday night at 9. But
almost every Friday.
Almost. But if you
Macho,
let me know if you catch that reference.
what did he?
East what it is. But
That's my new favorite thing.
If you like other platforms, we are on the Rumble. If you go to rumble.com, search Battle Bros in the search bar, all one word. Remember, go to rumble.com, search in the search bar Battle Bros, all one word, and you'll be able to find pretty much every episode that I've been uploading right there. And also, you can catch us on Spotify. You can catch us on iHeartRadio. I am getting really phlegmy right now, and it's kind of sucking. You can catch us on Google Podcasts, as well as I believe Amazon Music, and a few other different platforms.
Apple Podcast, all that stuff.
The Apple Podcast, all that stuff. So we are on multiple platforms. You can catch us however you feel like. If you're trying to listen to us in the car, I recommend listening. Don't watch us. If you're in the car trying to watch us, what are you doing? What's wrong with you? Pay attention to the road, guy, gal. Unless you're in a Tesla.
I just thought
if you're in a Tesla,
Oh, get out of my head, dude! I was just thinking that. I'm like sitting there saying, "Oh my god, watch out!" Like, no, don't do that on the thing. Somebody's gonna get in a wreck. They're gonna sue us. I'm like, shit. No,
yeah.
please obey the safety laws and the traffic laws of the road.
Listen, driving distracted is just as bad as driving drunk.
Put it on YouTube, but just put the phone down and put it to the radio. Don't watch it. Listen, it's all good. So
correctamundo. Just let us know, and we'll be getting back to you. Hey, show ideas, man. Comment, share, subscribe, and all that good stuff. Comment most important.
And what you normally do when he does this kind of stuff. I don't know. Yeah. So anyway, so thanks again, everybody. I know we had a little bit of a hiatus there for a couple of weeks, just with scheduling and everything else going on. Appreciate you staying patient with us. There's things that come up that we just kind of have to work around. We've both been busy that we couldn't really post a lot of stuff on social media announcing that. We're gonna try to get better at that. It just depends on what we got going on, because I know
with my new job,
Homeboy's got a new job here, and then I'm still working the same gig. So yeah, it's it can be it's a lot of work to put on a show in addition to dad duties and
a lot of work,
job stuff, and yeah, it's. But there's a price to pay for awesome. So But anyway,
Indeed.
this has been episode 105 entitled Trust of the Battle Bros Podcast. My name is Mac. This is Alamo. Thanks again for stopping by. We hope to see you again soon. And just remember, if things get rough, just keep it in the back of your head, man. Be tenacious, refuse to surrender, obliterate your obstacles, seek out help in a time of need. If you can do that, you have a good shot of getting yourself back on the right path of being okay. So until then, thanks again, and we will catch you down the road.
Battle Bros is out.
Did you just sneeze while you were saying that? Do you have a lisp? What the hell, man?